Good morning. So for my talk today, I decided I was going to mention something about the 12 powers because we're wrapping it up of the year up, that is, and we're wrapping up the 12 powers and getting ready to start them all over again to my favorite one, which is January. November is elimination, the month that we release and let go of things that no longer serve us, moving us into greater places. I found something very unique online from a Unity of Oak Park, Illinois, and it's from Reverend Linda Oglesby. She posted this information online. Elimination means to expel or get rid of, to disregard as irrelevant or incorrect. Release means to set free, liberate, and deliver from worry, pain, and obligation, or to be free. Feels good, doesn't it? Metaphysically speaking, release and elimination are entirely an inner process, meaning what you go do inside of yourself. The two main functions of release and elimination in consciousness are the avoidance of negativity and the elimination of negativity. They are both related to keeping your consciousness pure and uncluttered. Your consciousness is your home, the place where you live daily. Just as you keep your physical home free from clutter, you must and should keep your mental home free from clutter. One of the greatest methods of mental housekeeping is to use the affirmations, statements of truth, such as, I let go and let God. Your spiritual gift of release is your ability to give a no response to negativity. It is your ability to reject that which is not of spirit, that which is not of absolute good, that which is not God. And it's a wonderful thought that Reverend Linda Oglesby is talking about when she talks about the fact that you can let go and you can say no, and you should say no to the things that when you realize it's not of God and it's not of something that you need in your life. That felt really good to me to read that. Release helps us eliminate error thoughts and feelings to expand our good. When we release and forgive as well as let go of old thoughts, we are using our power of release. At this level, discernment and judgment are closely aligned. Release creates a vacuum. When you let go of old thoughts and old feelings, you are creating room, space for new, refreshing, revitalizing thoughts and feelings to come into your consciousness. A healthy state of mind is attained when the thinker is willing to let go and moves into a new perspective of thinking and feeling. We must always be willing to forgive ourselves as well as others. So, that last line, we must always be able to forgive ourselves as well as others. It's always a constant work. Spiritual living and a spiritual walk is always bringing things to you that you have to adapt to and adjust to. You have to understand, you have to contemplate. Lots of contemplation goes into being on a spiritual walk. So most of you know that in the last month, I tested positive for COVID. Thank God my early days of contagion was not at the church. I'm so grateful for that. So very, very grateful, because I'm the one to stay home. So being at home, I didn't really have that many people that I had to connect with, but people who come into my home could no longer do that. And so it did extend out to a lot of people and touched a lot of people's lives. And also made it difficult because I couldn't go over to help my parents the way I would have wanted to have been able to do. And anyway, so when I consider this COVID pandemic period, elimination comes to mind. I want to eliminate it. I want to definitely let it go and just release and let God take it away. I don't want it in my life any longer. And I'm sure all of you would like to not be in quarantine and not have to stay at home and not to have to wear a mask. So we're all in that same place right now. We're all in it together. We've all heard that, but I don't want to be in it. I want to be released from it just as much as what you do. And I would like to have that out of my consciousness. I would like to take a step further with that and just release that whole pandemic, the whole consciousness of it ever being around. So to add to that, this week you may have seen on Facebook that I posted a prayer for someone from a prayer request. And Kaylin was in the hospital and on a ventilator because of COVID. I understand now that Caitlin is doing better. As of Friday night at our board meeting, we found out she was doing better, and I'm really grateful for that. She's needing less oxygen. So I just ask you to continue holding Kaylin and anyone else that you know of that has COVID, or just the people you hear about on the news and stuff. If we all are in it together and we all hold positive thoughts and see everyone well, people will be well. It's important that we see it in our consciousness that way. So I also want to thank everyone for all of the prayers that they've given for me and all the positive thoughts sent my way and Jackie's way. It's important to note that from the beginning of this pandemic, and we've all heard these awful stories from the very beginning because they didn't know what this was. That I don't want to count the death count. It's not that that's not important. Of course, that is very important. And I certainly pray for those people. But I don't want to ignore those lives that were lost, because it happened, and every life has a meaning. So I hold that in prayer, but at the same time, all families that were burdened by having this in their life and having to be quarantined, there were families that my nephew, who was in the National Guard in Georgia, was with, and they kept repeating it over and over with each other because it was in the same household, and they kept passing it back and forth. So it has become something that's been very difficult for a lot of people. And if we all hold it in prayer again, we lift the light, we shine the light on it, and we lift it into its higher state of consciousness, which I know we can do, and I know we can help to support people in their journeys. And I may have shared with you before, especially since the beginning of the virus, and we had heard so much on the TV and everything about it, that we needed all to have an attitude shift. I wanted the medical field to have an attitude shift, the media to have an attitude shift. And I believe if you were in the hospital and you heard that there was only bad, they didn't know enough about it, there's so many people dying, there's so many people being sick and infected, and we don't have medications for these people, take that breath in. Stop and think. If that's all you hear, then that's all you know. And when you go into the hospital, that's all you're going to know in your conscious mind while you're waiting to get better. Are you going to get better? It becomes a question. So it makes it more difficult for you to be uplifted and made well. My parents also tested positive for COVID. This past week, I had the opportunity to tell my dad that he was COVID positive. And he looked at me and he said, I have it? I'm positive? And I'm like, yeah, Dad, you have it. Oh boy. Totally straight-faced. Looks at me and said, what's going to happen to me now? Am I going to die? Now, my dad is 89. This is what he hears on TV. This is what he makes of it. And in his conscious mind, if he didn't have other people talking to him and giving him positive, uplifting things, it would be so much harder for him. So, no, I said, Dad, it was so cute to share that moment in time and everything with him. But I'm grateful that I could say, no, you look really good, Dad. What I want you to do is think about it every day. Are you getting better, worse, or the same? And then report that to me so that I know how I can best help you. And that's kind of how we've lived this whole week. And it just was sweet. It was sweet to see, but it was validation to the thoughts that I know and that I teach and that I live and you live. So, we have to keep giving out those good, positive thoughts to all people. And one of the things that I thought would be really super great would be, from the very beginning, I felt this way, back in March, if the hospitals could put Unity people with their positive, uplifting statements on TV or on a radio so that it was pumped into everybody's room. If we could be on the TV in a hospital, doing a positive prayer with people, doing a positive TV show, some positive songs, letting people know that you are a child of God and you are well. I feel like that could have saved some lives, a lot of lives, because people need to hear and hold in their consciousness these positive thoughts. We want to eliminate the negative and accentuate the positive. And I know there's a song about that, but I didn't get that for you. Because eliminating the negative and accentuating the positive is healing in both mental and physical ways. So again, we can do that for others when we listen to their stories. When we listen and they give us a negative statement, we, as their spiritual friends, might say, oh, erase and replace that thought. And try saying, erase and replace that thought and say, and give them the positive affirmation for them. Truly, erasing and replacing your thoughts really does help. I do understand there's points and times in everybody's lives where you just don't feel that great. And it's hard to get that thought. That's why when someone says erase and replace to you, your brain goes, oh, yeah, I can do that. So you'll often hear me say that, and I've had people catch me on it too, and it's an okay thing. So you can do your restatements and do a positive affirmation. Then you seal that in by saying, I'll hold that in prayer with you or for you, and I'll see it happening in your life. And that too is the way that we can, as spiritual community, support other people. So when you think that would make a difference in people, in the way the life has went this past year, I really do. I think we could eliminate a lot, and I think it's a good practice. Eliminating what no longer serves us really is beneficial to all of us, and it helps to create an opening. When you eliminate, you create an opening, and it's almost like a vacuum that is ready for the good to come in and come into that spot where the not good has been sitting. So I know all of that. I practice all of that. I teach all of that, like I said. But when life happens to you, or you're not feeling 100%, how do you run the emotions, the stuck emotions that are within you? It's not, sometimes you just need that spiritual friend to say, erase and replace that, Linda. Or think about this, Linda. It's that important for everybody. So for me, the stuck emotion was for people who didn't think the virus mattered. It's not that big of a deal. It's not real. It'll be over the day after the election and yada yada. I don't need to wear a mask because it's no big deal. Social distancing is no big deal. And when those people give you the virus, it's a little touchy. So I ran those thoughts. I had those within me. And having those thoughts then made me question my own spiritual life. Yeah. As much as what I read, I meditate, I pray, I connect with God, and I believe in that spiritual connection, and I teach it, and I write about it. So who was I then to be here giving a Sunday talk? Then I remembered I'm a person, not spirit. Spirit is within me, but right now I'm living life in a physical form. So, living life in a physical form, you also experience times when your thoughts are not really aligned with the spiritual walk that you're on. But one of the things we always want to do in unity is walk our talk, especially if we're on the platform and we're giving Sunday lessons. How can you not walk your talk? That's so very, very important to me. When I provide a speaker to you, I provide a speaker to you that walks their talk, or I don't bring that speaker in. So how could I then be this person experiencing these emotions of frustration? And hey, I have to admit, I am still a little angry. Just a little disappointed, disgruntled. And with those thoughts, and I'm thinking, even I'm a little fearful of getting this COVID again, and I'm not trusting. I don't even know right now if I trust the doctor's words that you're good. So I didn't come in today because I have to know it in my consciousness. I have to really feel it, not just take the words from the medical community right now. I want to really get my trust back on it. So I'm in a different realm on all that right now, but I'm teaching myself and spiritually guiding myself in. And so that's kind of what I was looking at today in the talk, is how can I eliminate those thoughts from my consciousness, release them, let go. After all, this is November. That is what I'm supposed to be doing, releasing, letting go, moving on, creating an opening for the good to come in. So we also have had plenty in our external world to pay attention to in the last few weeks. There's plenty of actions that are happening in the energies in the world, not just in the U.S. I want to make sure I make that point clear. It's not just what's happening in the U.S. The energies that create drama here are also creating drama in other parts of the world as well. So that is spiritual lift from our Wednesday night that we were talking about the things that were happening in the world. And in fact, there was flooding in Florida this week. I believe it was Florida. It was a lot of flooding. It's not Florida. Anyway, when I saw that online, I thought, gosh, that's really crazy, because my news media didn't really even touch on all that was happening. And all of it that's going on can all draw you from your spiritual life. Now, Wednesday night, when us ladies got together, and I think Nick was there too from Oregon, when we got together, we were discussing the world today, discussing what we're seeing. Then we create a prayer and we uplift ourselves and the world through that prayer. And during that Zoom chat, and the words came from a member, from Judy, like a crack, like a thunder, a crack of thunder coming into my mind going, whoa, listen to this. And she said, you also have to think about whether it belongs to you or whether it belongs to the collective. And you know what? Judy was correct. I heard that so loud and clear. And what I realized, that this anger, frustration, was it really mine? That bothered me because I'm not that kind of person. Or was this just the physical energies of the world that needed our attention? Yeah. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes things are created just so that you can meditate on it. You can hold the space and the energy for clearing and eliminating. So it doesn't always have to be your own personal physical life. So that is God, Spirit, the universe, calling you into the consciousness and collective to hold a prayer for that greater good to manifest. It's not new to me. It's not new to you. You've done it before. You maybe just didn't even realize that you were doing it, but you were. I've wrote columns on this before. I've talked about it before. On a Sunday when I've done a talk, I've talked about it during our Unity chat days. It is that important. You are that important to the world. So what's interesting about it is Spirit is calling us. Even though I was not feeling 100% at the time, and I couldn't tap into that thought, thank God I have spiritual friends that said, oh, hey, Linda, think about this. And they reminded me who I was, what I believed in, and helped me to move forward, which is really, to me, having the community is awesome. And then, of course, on Friday night, we had our board meeting. And every board meeting, one of the members reads our mission statement. The mission statement for Unity of Lake Orion is on the wall in the gathering room. You might remember it. Lisa Sheldon had made the vinyl letters for us, and they're on the wall. It looks so nice in the gathering room. And when we're chatting on the board, we're trying to discuss something. One of the things we want to do, and we want to make sure we're living that mission statement. Jack Ferguson is really pretty good at bringing that mission statement forward, right, Jack? That's one of his things. Make sure that we're living that statement. So I had to look at it and say to myself, am I living this mission statement? I mean, I am the Unity director in this community. I'm providing unity. I'm supposed to be living the same mission statement that this church is doing as I'm doing the work. So as you can tell, it did bother me that I had these, what I called unspiritual thoughts during my COVID experience. But even with these thoughts I'm experiencing, I had to realize I am still living that statement. I was. And that made me feel like I'm in the right place. I'm doing the right thing. I'm studying the right way. And that was the biggest lesson for me in my week. I have put the mission statement on our Facebook page last evening so that you can go on there, read it, take a picture of it, keep it in your files. You can copy it, put it up on the mirror in your bathroom, because when you're brushing your teeth, you could be reading that and bringing that into your consciousness. So it reads this: to be an open, inspiring, loving, and supportive community that enriches lives through spiritual healing and growth. And thinking about the lesson today, could I be honest about the emotions I had that were not spiritual and were not uplifting? I wondered in my frustration of COVID, had I blocked out the thoughts or feelings of another while I was feeling disgruntled, angry, or had I been, as our mission says, open to seeing the good for all people? Yes, was my answer. It is my only desire to be open to seeing all people in this country, in my life, in my home, in the community, in the world around me, in the entire world, all people being given great opportunities to live a life that is fulfilling to their spiritual needs. As I watch the drama in the world, I hold in prayer that only people who have the best interest of others are visible to me. That is my affirmation. Only people who have the best interest of others are visible in my life. After all, we create our own world. And in doing so, we want to put out what we want to see. And I want to see all people around me doing great things for other people. That's my world. And I am inspiring myself so that I inspire others. Had I been reading and paying attention to my spiritual tools? I think I had. But I found this verse very inspiring to me, and it is out of 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 16 to 18. And it reads, "So we do not lose heart. Though our outer self is wasting away, our inner self is being renewed day by day. For this light momentary affliction is preparing us for an eternal weight of glory beyond all comparison. As we look not to the things that are seen, but to the things that are unseen, for the things that are seen are transient, but the things that are unseen are eternal." I love that reading. To me personally, it was saying, hey, Linda, do you remember that night you had a cough? Do you remember that night you said to yourself, whoa, that doesn't sound like a cough that Linda LaCroix has ever had before? Well, don't feel bad. Don't lose heart, young lady, just because you had COVID. While your body is going through this, your inner self is being renewed. As you look out at all the mess and chaos in the world, it is a momentary affliction that is necessary to prepare us for a glory beyond all comparison. Don't look at what you can see, for the good that is coming is the unseen. What I see, what you see, is transient in this world. I don't use that word transient. The Bible gives that to us. I looked it up on the online dictionary and I loved the definition. Transient, momentary variation in current, voltage, or frequency. I really love that. Voltage or frequency. The energies of the world around us is transient. They don't stay. They're short-lived. And I am inspired. I love that reading. That definition inspired me, and I was connected to my spiritual community and applying that to my healing and wellness thoughts. Spiritually, I was continuing to meditate and pray on all the feelings I had had, and I was enriching my consciousness, which in turn was uplifting and healing and providing wellness to me in unseen ways. So I felt great about knowing that my research was actually helping me. And I'll go back real quickly to the opening of Reverend Linda Oglesby from Unity of Oak Park. Elimination means to expel or get rid of, to disregard as irrelevant or incorrect. Release means to set free, liberate, and deliver from worry, pain, and obligation, or to be free. Metaphysically speaking, release and elimination are entirely an inner process. The two main functions of release and elimination in consciousness are the avoidance of negativity and the elimination of negativity. They are both related to keeping our consciousness pure and uncluttered. Your spiritual gift of release is your ability to give a no response. It's okay to say no. It is your ability to reject that which is not of spirit, which is not absolute good, which is not God. Just simply look at it and say no. In closing, it is my prayer for you that you too align your thoughts with the absolute goodness which is God. That at all times it is easy for you to spot error thinking. And when you cannot do it alone, you reach out to your spiritual community. For within forgiveness and letting go, you easily know you are an open, inspiring, loving, and supportive person, interested in living in a community that enriches lives through spiritual healing and growth. God bless you and your family with the wellness of the one presence and one power. Thank you.